2004 Chrysler Sebring with the 2.7 V6. Issue is when it's driving, it's got the check engine light flashing, so it sounds like it's got a misfire. We initially looked at this one before, so I'll show you the codes in the engine computer. So this one initially had a bad engine computer from the beginning. Had a number 2 injector driver that was bad, so they got a used module from a junkyard. We wrote the VIN in there, reset the skim module for the key codes, and it was good for a few days, maybe almost a week. I started misfiring again. Also, to add to that, this is from an 05 car. The one that was in here is from an 04 car. Different software versions as far as emissions. So this one that's used from a salvage yard has EGR codes in there, even though there's no EGR in this vehicle. We're going to have to reflash this computer to address that. But first, we got to see if the driver's still bad in this vehicle. If it is, fix that. We'll get another one, flash it correctly, write the VIN, do all that stuff, and figure out what's causing the driver to be taken out, if that's the case. So I'm in the PCM, using the Chrysler program right here. I'm going to recode. So EGR position here and here, control and position. That's because we're going to have to reflash it. There's a special procedure which I'll show on video when we get to that point. But cylinder 2 is misfiring. Cylinder 2 is misfiring because fuel injector control circuit P0202 is not giving it fuel, and I'll show that on the scope next. All right, so we got my oscilloscope set up. I got a 20-to-1 attenuator in there because this only handles up to 100 volts, and the magnetic field collapses. It can go up to past 100 volts. It shouldn't, but just in case. One lead going to my negative, other lead going to injector not 2, believe it's injector 4, just to show that it's a good waveform. 2 millisecond divisions, and I got my trigger on. So right now, this is live playing. From here to here is your milliseconds, how long the injector's open. That's the magnetic field collapsing, so you're going up to like, I don't know, 70 volts. And then that little hump there is the pinhole opening. So that's a good injector waveform. And now I'm gonna put it on the bad injector and see what we get. All right. So now I'm on cylinder number 2 for the bad injector. And if you look, your bias voltage should be at 14 volts, but it's not, it's way down. It should be spiking way up. Before, when we had this problem, it was stuck at the bias voltage of 14 volts. It was stuck up in here, and it was never going to ground because of the bad MOSFET transistor in the computer. However, this time, you go back to the scale, it's 100 volt scale. You can see it's trying to do something. Or we go to a 20 volt scale. It should be way up here, and it's not like it's not going to ground. It's more towards ground. So we're going to check the bias voltage. Should have battery voltage, can engine off, or alternator voltage when it's running. Should run the fused ASD relay on these, I believe, through the injector back to the computer to control the ground. So we're going to do some more checks. We'll check the injectors and the wiring back to the computer to make sure it's all good. But it looks like it's an injector issue. Perhaps we're not there yet, and that's probably what took the driver out in the original engine computer. Some more to come. All right, I'm going to do one more test here. Sorry, it's getting dark out, but I believe it's a bad injector, and I'll show you why. So I'm on a good injector here. Can't see it, but it's injector number 1, key on engine off. I got my scope playing on a 100 volt scale. So I'm going to make this quick because my phone's about to die. So I'm going to injector 1. I don't want data. Engine must not be running. Yes, I'm going to turn it on. And you can hear the injector turn on and off if you listen closely. You can hear it turn on and off. And then if you look at the scope, boom, it goes up. Boom, it goes up, so I can stop that. I can zoom in. Yeah, I'm trying to do this in film. Which is, let me reset it here. I gotta get my, there's one. Let me pause it to zoom in. There we go, I'm zoomed in. There's the pintle hump right there, so it's opening. Magnetic field collapsing around 70 volts. So that's good. So now let me show you the bad one. So now I'm on the bad one, which is injector number 2. We got the shop open so you got some more light. Hit injector 2. No data. Stream, I don't care. Engine must not be running, yes. We turn it on. But now if you listen really closely, you just hear a hum, you don't hear it turning on and off. Nothing. So now if you look at the Oscilloscope, why it's doing that, or bias voltage and everything's off. Once I hit play, right there, we're at a 100 volt scale. See, it's just above 0. If I go to 20 volt scale, you can see little traces there, but it's only at like 2 volts. So that tells me, I think we have a bad injector. What I'm going to do now is check the resistance of the injectors. I would imagine the bad one would have very high resistance, and that's causing the problem. And I believe that if the injector in fact is bad, it took out the driver in the computer, and that's what burnt that transistor, MOSFET transistor in the original computer. So we want to fix that. I believe this computer's still good for now. We'll check the resistance next and go from there. All right, so now with that bad waveform, if you look in there in the previous part of this video, which we just showed, injector 1 was good, going up to 80 volts in spike, and then the bias voltage was 12 to 14 volts. But the bad one only had like 2 or 3 volts bias voltage. The computer, I don't believe is bad. I think it's still good on this new one, new used one from the salvage yard. It's just the bias voltage is not coming in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the schematic here. So like injector 2 goes up, splices off from this connector here for the 2.7 liter from J, which is right there. J connector C111. Connector JC111 goes up. We're going to pull this fuse out right here in the power distribution center and check resistance. We're going to check the good one. A good one, it should be roughly 10 to 16 ohms, or 12 to 16 roughly. So we got our DMM out, and we're going to go on that side. We pulled that fuse out, just fuse 24, which is a 20 amp. So we know it's on that side. And then the good one is injector 1, which I'm not piercing into. I'm just touching them. That's a good one. And I'm going to go. So I'm on a good one. I'm on 12.4 ohms. That's injector 1. That's good. Now let's go to this one. So we just did this one, which is good in injector 1. This is injector 2. Doesn't even read on the 200 ohm scale. We're going to go to 200,000 ohms and read it on the bad one, injector 2. It's got to get in the right spot. It's got to get in the right spot here. I'm trying to film and do this at the same time. No, we're going to have to go higher than 200,000 because we're at 200. That's 0.26 million ohms. That's 260,000 ohms. Earlier, we had 40,000. We moved that harness there. Then we got 80,000. Then we got 100,000. Now we're at 255,000 ohms, or 0.25 to 0.26 million ohms. Quarter million of ohms. So that's excessively high resistance, and that's why our bias voltage is not going through there. Now, is it an injector issue or more like a wiring issue that's shorted? We're going to have to take a look at that. Fix that injector and or wiring issue. Believe the PCM's still good, and that'll fix that. And I believe what happened originally is the injector of the wiring took out the driver in the original computer. We put this one in. This one hasn't been taken out yet, but we got to, again, fix that injector and or the wiring issue. And then after that, we can flash the emissions stuff into this engine computer to get rid of the EGR code. EGR code, not causing any issues with this besides emissions to pass it, but that'll be a separate part of this video. All right, before we flash it in the next part of this video, the injector was actually bad. The wiring was repaired too, but the injector was actually bad. The wiring was repaired before this video was made, but the injector was actually what was causing the computer to go out. So there was high resistance in the injector. It wasn't on the device voltage you go through. That's what took out the original computer. They put a used one in from a junkyard. Like I said, I rewrote the VIN, reset the skim module. That's all good. So they replaced the injector. I know I'll talk later in this video about they need to do that, but the injector was replaced. So I'm filming the video in different parts because it's been kind of a different part, I guess, series, but it's going to be all in one video, obviously. So again, the injector is what caused it. The original ECM, they go bad. You got to use one, put that one in, wrote the VIN, reset the skim, so that's all good. And now, in the next part of this video, I'm going to show the reflash of the module, because the vehicle is a 2004 federal emissions vehicle, I guess 50 state emissions, whatever they call it, and the one they got is from an 05, and it's the NLEV emissions, which is like California, different emissions like that. So that's why it has an EGR code, even though there's no EGR on this vehicle. So we have the flash it. There's a special procedure we do. Kind of talk about it. I don't go in real depth about it, but that's what I'm going to show next. All right, now we're going to flash this 2004 Chrysler Sebring. We got the used module in from the junkyard. So like I said before, the original module had a bad driver. This is an 04 car. The module's out of an 05 car. So we had to do some editing to the software files. I'm not going to show that in this video. It's a pretty special procedure. There's videos out there specifically if you subscribe to L1 Automotive. He covers all that. But I got my power supply hooked up. Maintain battery voltage, key on, engine off. So you don't break your computer. Got my laptop hooked up. Got my J2534 pass-through hooked up. Got the files in the correct folder on here, which again he goes over. Sorry about the glare. We go open YTech 2.0. And hit switch to legacy. So we're gonna hit the VCMI, because that's what I'm using. Select pass-through, that's already selected. We're gonna hit start. Turn key past the off position to the locked position. So let me do that. I heard this thing turn on. So past it. Hit OK. Turn key to the run position. Just key on, engine off. Again, my VCMI is on. Gonna hit OK. Current part number is 0489658. Alpha Golf, do you want to update? To part number 04896-102AR. Let me verify that. Already verified it. It is the right one, so we're going to hit yes. If this vehicle is a 2006 JR, turn the ignition key off, disconnect the BCM module, and then turn the key to run. It's not, it's in 04, so hit OK. It's flashing the engine right now. It says the current ECU part number is that, which is the current AG. Turn key pass off position to the lock position. Off, locked. I mean accessories, I guess. Hit OK. Turn to the run. Key on, engine off. Hit OK. It's reprogramming the PCM. Again, this is the old part number up here. Again, sorry about the glare. This is block 1 of 1, so many bytes transferred. I may pause it here and in and out of it because it may take 5, 10, 15 minutes. So I'm going to pause it for now until something changes. All right, so now it's actually doing some more transferring from block 101. It's doing its thing. Still transferring data. Like I said, I'll pause this on and off while it does this. Again, maintain battery voltage with the battery maintainer. Key on engine off. I'm using the Autel VCMI. And again, it's flashing the PCM and TCM all in the same module. All right, so we're about 3/4 done almost. It's been about 10 minutes so far, so it is taking some time to reflash it. Again, this computer, the old computer was bad. This is the new one. They got to fix the wiring in or the injector they're going to do, but in the meantime, I'm flashing it because they got to use computer out of a junk error. There's a way that you can edit the files, special procedure to do that and flash it. So we'll continue to watch this. All right, we're almost there. All right, so finished that part. Now it says turn key past the off position to the locked. So basically accessories. So we're gonna go hit OK here. Turn the key to the run. So key on engine off. Go back over here, hit OK. It says turn the key past the off to the locked. Like programming a Ford almost. Bunch of key cycles. Hit OK. Turn the key to the run. Key on engine off. Hit OK. So it's flashing the transmission now. Reprogramming right there. All right, so you can see we just flashed it. We flashed the federal emissions into it for that part number. Like I said, there's a special procedure to set all that up. But the PCM flash fine, the TCM is part of the PCM. It's just partitioned in there. So again, the PCM flash fine, the TCM had an error. I don't know if you caught that at the end of the video. I kind of go over it next in the next part of this video. But like I said, the PCM flashed good. The TCM had some issues. It never actually flashed, which it doesn't matter for what we're doing for this part. It never unlocked the software for the TCM to flash it in there. So tried it 2 different times. There's nothing we can do about it. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with the TCM. There's no codes in it. It drives fine, everything. Like I said, the injector's been replaced. No misfire codes, no transmission codes. Everything shifts fine and everything. So that's why I stopped that filming there, because I was kind of surprised. I'm like, why did the PCM go through, but the partition, the TCM didn't? But it had it wouldn't unlock the software files to do it, whether it's that it need to be updated or whether it was a programming issue or any of that. But anyways, it's all good. So in the next part, I'm going to go over some other stuff on the scan tool, and then we'll continue to go from there. Well, as you can see, it flashed the ECM and then it went to the TCM and it had some issues in there. It said it failed or corrupt files, so you got to take a look at that. So I'm doing a full system scan to see what we come up with. So far, one in the ECM, none in the TCM. We'll take a look once it finishes here and see what we got going on. So the codes we got after doing that, one, fill injector has always been there. We know that because of the computer. They got to replace the fuel injector and or fix the wiring. But the BCM's got PCM message not received, remote keyless entry, battery low. Please refer to the service manual. The other one, and airbag, calibration mismatch, PC message not received for the instrument cluster, skin module, serial link, external failure, ABS left front sensor, don't care. So now let's go into the engine computer. See if our software reflects the newest stuff. Go to ECU information. Yeah, 04896102AR is the new one. So that wrote in there fine. 2004. Let's look at the transmission, see what it shows for data. gonna have to verify these part numbers from the new computer from the salvage yard to the old one and make sure they are compatible. Maybe they're not, or there's something we're missing. So now we're in the TCM. Nah, it's just part of the TCM computer. So just check the VIN, make sure that hasn't changed. It shouldn't have changed because we identified it as the correct VIN. So we're checking the VIN right now on the PCM. Should end in 0014. It does, so that's good. So that's all good. Just so we get this correct, we're going to make sure we go into the skim module. And let's erase these codes for the skim. And reset it so it can learn. Because after you program, it's got to relearn everything usually. So erase that code. Go to special function. Go to the skim functions. We'll reset it. Then when you start it, it'll relearn itself. So let's go ahead and start it and recheck for codes. So I got it running now. We're back in the engine computer. Man, this glare is so bad, sorry. Fuel injector 2 code, we already know about that. So you gotta fix that. We'll go to the body, the skim module. See if there's any issues there. After we reset it. Nothing. So it pulled the transferred the secret key data. Let's go to the TCM just to look. Which is going to be part of the, well, this one's partitioned actually, so yeah. Make sure there's no codes in here. Just weird that it never finished the TCM part. So I got to verify some numbers on the old computer to compare to the salvage one. Read it again, see what they're at with that. I might have to reflash it again and go from there. Make sure we're not missing nothing in here. Well, anyways, they're going to have to finish this repair, the injector harness, and the and/or injector, and fix that, because we did find 16,000 ohms on that injector's number 2, and it should only be like 12 to 16. So more to come. All right, so that's the end of this video. So like I said, the wire harness is good. They replaced the injector. That P0202 code went away. On that injector, like I said, originally took the original computer out. They got to use them from a salvage yard. We wrote the VIN in, reset the skim module so it could transfer the secret key data. And since it was an 04 car, federal emissions, and they had an 05 NLEV, basically California emissions, it threw EGR codes that were false. So we did a custom flash, updated that. PCM updated fine. Like I said, the TCM didn't pull the software files correctly. They have a little bit different part number on the computer, so that could be part of it. But anyways, it never did nothing to the TCM. None of that changed. That didn't matter for this flash. What mattered is getting the PCM updated. So yeah, it's all good to go. So that is it for this 2004 Chrysler Sebring.